What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to be looking at the Summer Cup Ultra League Edition, and the team we're going to be taking a look at today is Shadow Swampert, GOURGEIST Super, and Fortress. Now, the Pokemon I'm going to be focused on today is GOURGEIST, and the Super is important actually because this is one of the only Pokemon in the game where its stat product is directly correlated to its size. And when I talk about size, I mean its literal size in game, like the XL, XS, those types of things, XXL, XXS. It's actually very, very important, and Super is XXL, I believe. And that actually makes its stat product even higher and makes it an incredibly bulky Pokemon for the Ultra League, especially with optimal IVs. That said, before we hop into the battles, I want to say a special thank you to the expert trainer members on this channel, Benny Hemlock, Dr. Green Mustache, and Sohan Patil, as well as the legend trainer members on this channel, Big Burden, Andrew Pitton, Musachute, Noodleman, Speedster, Esteros, and Liminal Lagomore. Without further ado, let's hop into the battles. Alright, so we're pairing it with a Swampert lead and a Fortress in the back. We've got a pretty decent lead in the first match. We've got Shadow Swampert into Galvantula, but this Galvantula is actually on Fury Cutter, and now I was worried about them having Energy Ball, so I threw my Hydro Cannon right away. My opponent makes a really nice catch onto their Lapras, where it is resisted. Of course, their Psywaves are resisted in the matchup against Fortress, so I just come in with my Fortress. I can tank one Sparkling Aria, no problem. I can now go for a Rock Tomb to debuff their attack, and now their second Sparkling Aria is going to do even less damage, which is why you see me undercharging, because you're going to notice something after I connect with that Rock Tomb is I can get a full farm down, and two Sparkling Arias are not enough to KO, but in comes a Blastoise, and now Blastoise will be hit with a Rock Tomb. This is neutral damage, it'll lower their attack, and now I can align my GOURGEIST, and GOURGEIST has a fantastic matchup here because most Blastoise are on Hydro Cannon and Skull Bash, which means they are completely walled in this matchup, and as soon as they go for that Hydro Cannon, I know this is true, which means I can let two of these go no problem, and then overfarm as much as I can, picking up the knockout with a Seed Bomb. And Seed Bomb from this range, it's super effective damage. It picks up the knockout on the Blastoise. Back in comes Galvantula, and Galvantula will connect with a Lunge. This is neutral damage because it's super effective on grass, whereas resisted on Ghost, netting neutral damage. That lowers my attack as well, but that Shadow Ball still does massive damage. Can I make it to a charge move? The answer is yes, but I anticipate the catch. I go for a Seed Bomb. That is super effective damage onto the Lapras, and now in comes the Fortress to force their energy. They're forced to basically dump all of their energy here. Lunge doesn't even pick up the knockout, but the Fury Cutter after does, and now all I have to do is come in with my Swampert, get the Mudshot farm down, and we are able to take that win with a 2-shield flex. Into the next matchup, we've got Shadow Swampert into Heliolisk. This is a good lead. The opponent safe switches into an Oranguru, and I have a fantastic response in Fortress. However, I'm going to chip with a Hydro Cannon first, and now that I've grabbed that shield, in comes the Fortress. Confusions are resisted here. Trailblaze is double resisted. They're forced to go for non-stab brutal swings, and they get there after 12 turns, aka 3 Confusions. So this is an extremely dominant matchup. And we have super effective Bug Bites, so I can tank all of these charge moves and go for an entire Bug Bite farm down on the Oranguru, coming out with loads of energy on the Fortress. My opponent doesn't want to give me that, so they're going to pivot back into their Heliolisk. But now here comes an Earthquake. That actually grabs a shield from the opponent, so they're 2 shields down. I'm also able to make it to a Hydro Cannon before they're even able to get to the Grass Knot. Hydro Cannon puts them into the red health range. They go for 1 Mud Slap, and then the Grass Knot. I'm just going to let this go because at this point I have a 2-shield advantage and a GOURGEIST with full HP, so this is looking like a very dominant matchup, but instead I snipe with the Fortress, hoping to get to a Rock Tomb against the final Pokemon in the back, and that Pokemon is Amoonguss. Now Amoonguss will be hit with the Rock Tomb. That lowers their attack. In comes GOURGEIST. GOURGEIST will get to a Seed Bomb before the opponent can even get to a Brutal Swing, and I will just pick up the knockout here. That way I can save my shields for the foul plays from this Amoonguss, and all I have to do is get to 1 Shadow Ball to pick up the knockout. They're not getting to 3 foul plays plus the Astonish farm down before I get to 1 Shadow Ball, so I will get to the Shadow Ball. The opponent knows this, so they just resign the match, and we are able to take that win. Good lead in the next match. We've got Swampert into Skeledirge. The opponent is staying in this matchup, so something clearly wrong for my opponent, but they immediately show me that it's actually not that bad because they safe switch into a Feraligatr after getting a little bit of an energy head start. So I'm going to connect with the Sludge, bank another Hydro Cannon for later, and then come in with my Fortress, knowing that I can survive 2 Hydro Cannons from the non-Shadow Feraligatr pretty comfortably, especially if I haven't taken that Shadow Claw damage, and you're going to see that right away. And the opponent can't commit a shield here if I get to the Rock Tomb, because my fast move is just going to do more damage than their fast move, and we're at relatively the same health range. So this lowers their attack. I actually do grab a shield from my opponent, but if they throw their energy, yep, I'm just going to shield right back and go for the full Bug Bite farm down in order to maintain switch. That's exactly what's going to happen. They will get 1 Incinerate worth of energy head start against my Swampert, which is a little bit unfortunate because now they are at a charge move here, but I have a charge move banked on my Swampert as well, but I don't want to throw an alignment in case they throw their energy right away, so I will just let this go, or don't throw their energy right away. It is the Shadow Ball. In comes a Virizion. Virizion now will be chipped with a super effective Sludge, and now I can just come in with the hard wall of GOURGEIST. Now GOURGEIST is a complete wall here because Sacred Sword and Leaf Blade are both resisted. Leaf Blade is single resisted and a better damage for energy charge move, so they will be going for Leaf Blade in this matchup if they don't have Stone Edge for coverage. Some Virizion are running Stone Edge, some are not. This one doesn't seem to be, so I will just take those 2 Leaf Blades. I now will go for the Shadow Ball. I'm going to go for an undercharge here so that I can come out with some energy loaded. The opponent realizes what's happening, so they instead save the Virizion, pivot into their Skeleturge, but unfortunately, because of the energy lead that I had, there's just no way that they can get to another charge move before I get to a 3rd Shadow Ball, and they are energy dry on the Virizion, so this game is over. Only 2 away from the next charge move. Shadow Ball from this range will pick up the knockout, and then 1 Hex to farm down the Virizion, and we are able to take that win. Into next match, we've got Swampert into Victory Belt. This is a terrible lead, so going to safe switch into GOURGEIST, and the opponent is staying in this matchup, and because they're worried about getting outpaced, they actually just settle for a Leaf Blade here. And Leaf Blade doesn't do that much damage, so I will let it go, but now we see why they just chipped the Leaf Blade. They knew I would let a resisted charge move go, and this puts us in Sucker Punch farm down range for the Belly Bolt. So actually a pretty nice play from the opponent. And they can survive a Shadow Ball plus a Seed Bomb here. I probably should have just committed to the 2nd Shadow Ball, but I was worried about them boosting their attack. That said, they're completely walled in this matchup, so I just have to bring in the Swampert here. Swampert can take a Zap Cannon or a Parabolic Charge, no problem. Well, I say no problem, that Zap Cannon does about 50% to the Swampert, but we get a little bit of energy lead. I can now connect with a Sludge against the Victory Bell, but the Victory Bell does not come back in. Instead, it's a Lapras in the back, and now I can align my Fortress. And unfortunately for my opponent, they are ABA weak to the Fortress. Everything in this matchup is double resisted because Poison is double resisted on Steel, and Grass is single resisted on Bug and single resisted on Steel, which means both Leaf Blade and Sludge Bomb are double resisted in this matchup. I can go for the full Bug Bite farm down, come out with the Rock Tomb loaded, and yeah, unfortunately for my opponent, this game is over. I'll be able to get to 2 Rock Tombs before they even get to 1 charge move, and at this point, this game is a fast move damage down. Rock Tomb will be super effective. It picks up the knockout on the Lapras, and we are able to take that win. Into next match, another good lead. We've got Swampert into Skeleturge. The opponent is going to safe switch into a Belly Bolt, so already with the core breaking on the lead, I'm going to chip with a Hydro Cannon first, and now I'm going to stay in this matchup, go for the catch of the Parabolic Charge onto my GOURGEIST, but I'm unsuccessful. The opponent holds onto their energy, but that's okay, because I can let this go. Zap Cannon is resisted. They are still in Seed Bomb range, so I will just go for 1 more Hex, connect with the Seed Bomb. The opponent is just going to let that go, and I can maintain alignment. The opponent is actually on Hex Skeleturge, of all things, not on Incinerate here, maybe for the mirror matchups, but that allows me to get to a Shadow Ball, connect with a few more Hexes. This puts them in 1 HP. They have a lot of energy, but in comes the Swampert. It's a Toad Scroll in the back, and unfortunately for my opponent, even though my charge moves are walled, the Bug Bites are just doing too much damage, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got Swampert into Skeleturge, and once again, this Skeleturge is staying in, so potentially another Belly Bolt in the back. That's kind of all that I can imagine. I don't know why else you would stay in this matchup. A lot of opponents ABA weak to Mud Slap, so if you've got like a secret Mud Slapper for this cup, potentially like Kangaskhan, could be a really interesting play. That said, I'm just going to stay in this matchup and play it out. I will always just match shields in case my opponent does full send the Shadow Ball here. Doesn't really matter what it is. I thought about calling the bait because I knew they were going to go Torch Song on the first. The opponent is actually on Crunch, which does have improved their pacing a little bit, but is not a great move, and it's not it's not stab. So you know. But I will pick up the knockout there. In comes a Swampert of their own, and I pivot into Fortress. Now, why do I pivot into Fortress? Because I believe they have a Belly Bolt in the back, and I know they no longer have a hard answer to the Fortress because their fire was on the lead. So I knew it was safe to pivot into my Fortress here. All shields are down as well, so I will be able to survive 2 Hydro Cannons and then connect with a Earthquake against the Swampert, but instead in comes the Belly Bolt, and now Belly Bolt will have to take a super effective Earthquake. This does massive damage to the bulky Belly Bolt. Can they get the full farm down? They can, and that is a little unfortunate, but they're completely walled on both of my remaining Pokemon in the back, so I will just sacrifice my Swampert here. They can full send a Zap Cannon here. It does pick up the knockout, but in comes the GOURGEIST, and GOURGEIST will be able to get a full Hex farm down. No matter what this charge move is, it is resisted. GOURGEIST is pretty bulky. It survives that absolutely no problem. In comes a Swampert, and now Swampert will be met with a double super effective Seed Bomb. This will hit for massive damage. It picks up the knockout on the Swampert. One more Hex to farm down the Belly Bolt, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we see another Belly Bolt lead. Wow, absolutely shocking. The opponent is going to safe switch into Golisopod, and I'm going to respond with the Fortress. Now, this is kind of an awkward matchup because they can get you into the red health range with 2 Aqua Jets, even though their Fury Cutters are resisted, and because they have such a pacing advantage, they can actually kind of get to, if you're a little bit slow on the swap, they can get to 2 Aqua Jets before you even get to your first Rock Tomb, which is why you see me shielding up that second one. I don't want to be put in an awkward situation here, so instead I'm going to overfarm, go for the Rock Tomb, go for an undercharge, allowing them to connect with 1 more Aqua Jet to put me pretty low so that they get less energy on their Belly Bolt. I get the full Bug Bite farm down, and now I have the ability to make a charge move against the Belly Bolt that comes back in. This Belly Bolt will be hit with the Rock Tomb. I'm unable to make the Earthquake. How good is my opponent's counting? Their counting is fantastic. They let it go. Now in comes the GOURGEIST. GOURGEIST will be a complete wall to energy from the Virizion. They don't even farm up to the Stone Edge, so I know they are completely walled in this matchup. It is just the Leaf Blade. That is at least the correct move to go for when you are this walled, but this is such a dominant matchup for the GOURGEIST that I can just overfarm as much as possible, connect with these Shadow Balls. The opponent actually commits a shield onto the Virizion, knowing the Virizion is the way to get rid of my Swampert, because Belly Bolt is otherwise completely walled, and Belly Bolt has no play because it's also walled by the GOURGEIST, so they double shield the Virizion. I can also live another Leaf Blade, and this puts my opponent in a really difficult situation. They end up switching into their Belly Bolt. All I have to do is farm up 2 back-to-back moves here, and this game is over. My opponent sees what's going on, they resign the match, and we are able to take that win. Terrible lead in the next match, Virizion. I'm going to safe switch into my GOURGEIST because I'm expecting a Skeleturge in the back, and this is exactly what we're hoping to bait out. Baiting out the Skeleturge so that Fortress doesn't have to see it as a grass, but also having play to flip this matchup because of the energy lead with Shadow Ball is absolutely huge. The opponent does commit the shield, and now they're just going to overfarm, go for a Torch Song to boost their attack, and now that puts me at threat of being completely Incinerate farmed down. However, if I bait with a Seed Bomb and they commit the shield, guess who's not getting farmed down before I make another charge move? It's the bulky GOURGEIST, so I will shield up the second Torch Song. I can even overfarm by 1 because 3 turns versus 5 turns means that Incinerate won't KO before I get to the charge move. Shadow Ball picks up the knockout. We just flip switch, and that is absolutely massive. Of course, our Fortress doesn't have a fantastic matchup against the Virizion on the lead because Bug Bites are neutral, but our charge moves are resisted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with my Fortress. I'm going to Bug Bite down this into range where a Sludge can potentially pick up the knockout, and then pivot into my Swampert once they're energy dry, and hope that I can make something out of it. But the opponent is just spamming out these Sacred Swords. I can only probably live 1 more, but at this point they are energy dry. So hopefully my opponent just pivots out of this matchup. They're not going to pivot. Now they finally are. They go for a catch. It's a Typhlosion in the back. I make it to the Hydro Cannon before they're able to make it to the Blast Burn, and Hydro Cannon will get an undercharge. It still picks up the knockout onto the Typhlosion. They're going to be forced to throw energy here, or else I will make it to a Sludge. And Leaf Blade from this range, double super effective, picks up the knockout. Can I get to an Earthquake before my opponent gets to a charge move? The answer is yes. Now, is Earthquake, it is resisted. Is it enough to pick up the knockout? It is not, but it puts them in 1 Bug Bite farm down range, and we are able to get that win. Into the next match, another good lead, Swampert into Bellybolt. Is the opponent going to stay in? No, they're going to pivot into Gallitespod, and in comes the Fortress. Hopefully a little bit quicker on the swap this time, but it looks like we were still a little bit too slow, throwing two mud shots and then pivoting, which puts us in a pretty awkward situation. They end up going for the Aerial Ace here and then getting to the second charge move on the CMP tie. I'm hoping they just go for another Aerial Ace because Aerial Ace is not the move to go for. I thought maybe they were on Aerial Ace X Scissor, but that is not the case. They're on Aqua Jet, so a bit of a strange play from the opponent. But now I am able to connect with the Rock Tomb. I end up grabbing a shield from my opponent, so I'm willing to commit the shield right back. And Aqua Jet obviously would pick up the knockout there had I not committed the shield. But now that I'm able to get to a second Rock Tomb, the opponent, are they willing to commit 2 shields in this matchup? They are not, so we are able to maintain switch. The Bellybolt gets a little bit of a farm down here, but that's okay, because they're completely walled against Swampert. In the back, it's Virizion, and yeah, that is a triple hard counter game. My opponent resigns the match, and we are able to take the win. Terrible lead once again in the next match. We've got Swampert into Virizion, going to safe switch into the GOURGEIST, and this time I'm met with a Durampa. Now this is the problem with safe switching your hard answer. If the opponent team builds correctly, they will have something that hard punishes a safe switch that hard walls their lead. So this is the first time that we're seeing this, a hard loss on the lead, a hard loss on the switch. How are we going to recover from this game? Of course, we cannot flip switch. We have no ability to do so. The opponent has overfarmed absolutely massively, and I am forced to just take that fly, go down. I think I have to come in with Fortress here because I can't exactly get a mud shot farm down before the opponent connects with like at least 2 charge moves and the Dragon Breath, which would do way too much to the Glassy Swampert. One fly does connect on the Fortress. I can live that, no problem. In comes the Bellybolt. Now Bellybolt will be hit with an Earthquake here. This is super effective damage, and getting an energy lead on the Fortress is massive here. And now in comes the Swampert. My opponent reads me like a book. They pivot at the exact same time. And now basically I have to play into my win con of catching the like third Leaf Blade onto my Fortress, so I just need to burn the clock. So I'm just going to spam out these charge moves. You see me going for Hydro Cannon here, and you might be like, why are you going for a resisted Hydro instead of a Sludge? And I'm hoping my opponent thinks I want Hydro Cannon Earthquake so that they let the next charge move go. And now I'm full sending Sludge. Do they respect a potential Sludge here? They unfortunately do. Can we get the Leaf Blade catch? We cannot. The opponent holds onto their energy. They overfarm 2 back-to-back charge moves, snipe with the Bellybolt before I get to the charge move, pick up the knockout with the Parabolic Charge, but now that puts them in range for a perfect Mudshot farm down. Are they in Sludge Wave? Swampert going to win CMP by an absolute mile here. Is Sludge enough? It's super effective. It's Shadow, but it's non-stab, and unfortunately it's just not enough to pick up the knockout on the Virizion. Virizion will connect with a Leaf Blade that picks up the knockout on our Swampert, and unfortunately we do lose that game. Into the next match, another good lead, Swampert into Bellybolt. The opponent is staying in this matchup here, but they are on Thundershock, which means they can get to the Parabolic Charge at the exact same time we get to the Hydro Cannon. I didn't want them to boost their defense, so instead I'm going to connect with a Hydro first. The opponent then farms up to a potential Zap Cannon here. This will do about the same amount of damage that my Hydro Cannon did, and yeah, look at that damage. They instead pivot into their Virizion after connecting with that Zap Cannon. And I, once again, don't believe they even farmed up to a Stone Edge here. Did they farm up to it? Oh, they did. Okay, so just a little bit harder counting when the game is sped up, but that's okay because now here comes a Shadow Ball. I can still live 2 Stone Edges because it's non-stab on the GOURGEIST, and they have 0 ability to farm me down because double kick is double resisted. So second Stone Edge connects. There's nothing my opponent can do. Here comes another Shadow Ball. This will be enough to pick up the knockout on the Virizion unless they commit the shield. The opponent does let it go. Are they going to come back in with the Bellybolt to be met with another Shadow Ball? Let's find out. The opponent instead comes in with their third, which is a Credilli. Now Credilli will be chipped with a Shadow Ball, and then in comes the Fortress because Fortress is good into their back 2 remaining Pokemon, so I'm comfortable switching this in and not conceding the farm down. These Bug Bites are hitting for massive super effective damage, and Rock Tomb will lower my attack. They will get to another charge move here, but not before I connect with a Rock Tomb. However, if they do farm back up to the Zap Cannon, I will commit the shield. The opponent does farm up to it, so I will commit the shield, knowing that this is one of the hardest hitting charge moves left in the game. That I do get the full Bug Bite farm down. Can I get the Bug Bite farm down on the Credilli? The answer is no, so instead I'm going to CMP sack swap with my Swampert, connecting with the Hydro, just doing absolutely flashy plays for no reason. This game was won, but does not matter. We get the swap, and we are able to take the win into, I believe, the final match of the video. Bit of a tough lead. We've got Kingdra, which just has more fast move pressure than the Swampert. They've already got us to 50% health, and we haven't even connected with a charge move yet. But here comes a Sludge. The opponent does commit the shield, and now in comes the GOURGEIST. GOURGEIST, of course, is not my hard wall. Fortress is resisting the Outrage, and the Dragon Breath, they actually do connect with the Outrage, and in comes the Swampert. They're actually on Dragon Breath as well. This could be a triple Dragon Breath team. So maybe potentially think about what's in the back. We actually connect with the Shadow Ball. The opponent unwilling to give up their second shield. That puts them pretty low, and I'm going to make an interesting play here. I'm instead going to come in with my Fortress. Now, these Bug Bites are double resisted, but their Dragon Breaths are resisted, and Dragon Breath kind of slowly charges energy, which means they're only going to get to one charge move here. They bait for some reason with the Dragon Claw. I'm still able to get the farm down. What's in the back? It's a Swampert. Can I get to the Earthquake? No. So instead, I'm going to make a catch onto my Swampert. Swampert will go down here from the Hydro Cannon, and now I just have to connect with an Earthquake. Excuse me. Earthquake is neutral damage. It'll chip the Swampert pretty well. They try and call a Rock Tomb bait. They let it go. This is the hardest hitting charge move left in the game, so I will shield this up. Hydro Cannon is shielded up. Can I get the Bug Bite farm down? No, not before the opponent pivots into their Kingdra. I'm now able to outpace, make it to the Rock Tomb. This permanently lowers the Kingdra's attack, which is absolutely fantastic because that means I should be able to live an Octazooka from this range. Now, Octazooka will still do a lot of damage, and these Dragon Breaths are adding up. Can I get to a second Rock Tomb? It looks like the answer is yes, and now it's going to be a race, a Bug Bite versus Mudshot. Who has more HP, Swampert or the Fortress? It's going to be close, but because they got that debuff, it is the Swampert. Unfortunately, we do lose that game. Potentially, I should have committed to the full Bug Bite farm down and hope that I came out with 1 HP left and a Rock Tomb for the Swampert in order to win that game, but unfortunately, I did not, and that ended up costing me that game. But yeah, this team worked out super well for me. GOURGEIST able to bait out those fire types, punish the Skeleturge, which is absolutely rampant in this cup with the Hex and Shadow Ball combo. Have Swampert on the lead for both the common Skeleturge and the Belly Bolt, and then have Sludge for coverage against Virizion, which is just absolutely fantastic. And then Fortress as a wall to those grass poisons is absolutely huge. And then the Bug Bites on Credilli, it's just got a lot of neutral play, which is what you like to see in this cup. But yeah, that's going to be it for me from this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, peace.